Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're all having amazing creative days. And last night, Canon did something pretty cool. They unveiled a bunch of firmwares for a bunch of different cameras. So if you shoot with the R3, the R5, the R6, the R7, and I think the R10, I'm not sure. But if you shoot with any of those cameras, go check out the YouTube, check out the Canon website, go look for the firmwares for your cameras because there's some new stuff for you guys. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about the R5 firmware and that's it. If you wanna know about other cameras, I guess go search around YouTube. Yeah, so let's get started. There's 4 updates for the R5 and let's talk about it. All right, so the big question for a lot of us Canon EOS R5 users is, did Canon get rid of that 30-minute record limit? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no, they did not. I will talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, but first let's get into the 4 things they did update. Number 1, auto power off temp. So it's a new setting in the menu and you can set the auto power off temp to either standard or high. And what that means is if you set it to standard, the R5 will turn off when it reaches a certain temperature. But if you set it to high, the camera will keep going even though it's at a high temperature. So it might, in theory, allow you to record longer. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to test that out and see if it actually makes a difference. So hopefully that gives us maybe, you know what, it won't do anything because if there's still a hard limit of 30 minutes, it's not gonna make a difference, so we're not gonna be able to record longer. So it'll just allow you to take, I guess, more shorter clips at, let's say, 4K 120 or 8K RAW or something like that. So let's test it out. Let's see if it does any better. I haven't updated my camera yet, so maybe I'll do some tests before and after the update and see if there's a difference. And number 2, you now have the ability to convert HEIF files into JPEG files in the camera, which I guess could be handy. I mean, if you're on set working with a client and you want to just give them some raw JPEGs to look at and they can't read the HEIFs for some reason, you can just give them the memory card and you convert everything to JPEG and give it to them. So I guess that's a bonus. It makes things a little easier if all they can read is JPEGs on their computer. All right, number 3, and this one could be interesting depending on how it works because it's a little vague in the description. It's an enhancement to digital movie IS, specifically when you're shooting selfies and walking and taking videos. Now, to me, that sounds suspiciously like vlogging, right? So if you're using the R5 to vlog, and this digital movie IS enhancement is specifically for wide angle lenses. So what I'm hoping is we get rid of the jello in the corner. So if that is the firmware update, I think that is a huge thing because the IS on the R5 is great, but when you're shooting with wide angle lenses, anything wider than 24, and it gets a little wobbly and it's distracting when you're making videos and vlogging. So hopefully, thumbs up, that's what this firmware update does. We'll have to test it and find out, but that's pretty exciting for all of us vloggers. If you're a Canon photographer, Canon videographer, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. I make a lot of videos about Canon gear. I review cameras, lenses, tips and tricks, behind the scenes, tutorials, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely subscribe to the channel. And 4th and final firmware update in this update is a fix to minor issues. Now, I wish that Canon considered a 30-minute record limit a minor issue because I would love to see that gone. I mean, it's not in the R7, it's not in the R10, and those are significantly cheaper cameras. So I don't understand why we can't get a 1-hour record limit with the R5. Let's say just in regular 4K. Forget 4K HQ, forget 8K RAW and all that stuff. How about just 4K, regular 4K, 1-hour record limit? That would make things so much better. I am tired of having to hit like stop record and start record when I'm working with clients. Like I'm always watching my timer and I'm like, okay, hold on, we're reaching 28 minutes. Let me just stop and start again. Okay, now continue. And it just breaks the immersion, breaks the flow. It's no fun. And of course, I'm not interested in the R5C. That thing just chugs batteries and it just, I don't know, it seems like a pain in the butt to use. So I really like the R5. I think it is, for me anyway, the perfect hybrid camera. The only issue for me is that 30-minute record limit. But if we could go to a 1-hour record limit, that would be fantastic. And the other thing to consider too is the R5 is like 2 years old now. So it's kind of like, who knows what's going on with the chip shortage and when products are going to be unveiled, and the EOS R lineup's all new. So we don't know nothing. I'm just speculating here, but back in the day with the 5D series, every 4 years there was a new camera. So the R5 is now 2 years old, so it's halfway through its life cycle. I don't know if we're gonna get a lot more firmware updates for it, and then probably by the 3rd year, Canon is just gonna drop the firmware updates and focus on the R5 Mark II. And that's my guess, but I mean, if we could get that 30-minute record limit, lifted, it would be great. But at the same time, I feel like Canon knows that if they gave us unlimited recording with the R5, people like me wouldn't have any incentive to buy an R5 Mark II. Would be like, hey, the R5 is pretty awesome, which it is. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. I'm gonna make a video talking about all the firmware updates I would like to see in the R5, and maybe you guys could let me know what you think, and if you want to add some ideas to that, feel free to do so. That video is in scripting mode right now, but it should drop on the channel in a few weeks, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss it. And that is it. That is firmware 160 for the R5, and yeah, peace out. See you guys in the next video.